I was thinking about having Denise and you in a conversation in Humboldt, where in your place, regarding the recent revelations concerning your past. That Vince has been doxxed as Advance. The Get Advanced Bro meme is resurrected, and the and all manner of nutsiness is occurring already. You've actually had to get security to keep your property clear. And there are people, camping in nearby flat spots.
Yes.
I mean, not really like vigils or anything, nothing, and they're not really there for any particular purpose. It's just kind of fun. So it's not like a cult that's formed or something yet, but it's definitely not what you want on your front lawn. Now, you have a successful energy company in Humboldt, and that means that you have a pretty nice place to live, probably in some pretty mountainous land. One of those roads where there are several dwellings, but they're very well set off from each other and set way back, and you don't see other people's houses. And
okay, so we're saying that the energy is going to be hydroelectric?
Oh, no, actually your energy is because you're because you're advanced and everything. I figured that you had some sort of strange tech that sort of strange tech. When I was talking about hydroelectrics, I was talking about establishment energy.
Okay.
Right. I was talking about what anything you're doing is innovative from. And of course you're messing with, as I put it in the email, physics that man was not meant to know, as opposed to just, plain old another kind of windmill. So does that work?
I figured that he was probably him and his wife are probably kind of on the workaholic side.
Right.
So their house would be kind of like
there's a lot of officey. Yeah.
I wouldn't say minimalist, but I mean they're spending most of the time in their lab, and
right.
The location of the house is probably close to the lab.
Okay. So maybe not set off in the hills. A little more toward the townish. So what I see then is in our currently individually imagined comfy area where people can eat. And one thing that's characteristic of these areas is big ass windows. So therefore, nice view into pretty, some pretty landscape. So if you are there and Denise is there, and so what with the crowd outside, what with security there, what with a big project just getting done that kind of kept her there 22 hours a day. So she, characteristically, having finished all kinds of stuff, and I'm imagining a woman who's thinking of the culture in question. She looks weathered, but carries herself and looks, and it has many aspects of a younger woman. So, in other words, she's very fit looking and very, some people, and I figure Vince is the same, especially in that area that I'm thinking of. They age, but they kind of only get more weather beaten looking of 40. They stay 40 and just get more weather beaten. Does that make, instead of like getting elderly?
Yes.
So, yeah. So, at last, you perhaps arrive, having looked, been escorted through the area. And finally, you'll find Denise hanging out, looking casual, looking very comfortable. She may well have opened wine or something like that. And she is kind of looking at you in sort of a cool, enigmatic way, which, maybe storm clouds. Who knows? And she says, hello. Hey, Vince.
Ooh, what a day.
Guess what we have to talk about?
Uh-oh. There's everything okay at the lab?
Yes, although Gavin wants you to call him. Probably about the same thing I want to talk to you about. So, so she waits till you get comfortable and everything. She's not going to grill you as you stand there in your own house. And her main point is that she's been kind of putting two to two together, all looking back over the memories of the last decades. You guys apparently met after Advance's career was totally over, is what I'm thinking. And she's she's trying to put two together and says, if one ever started with the premise that one's husband was a superhero, then it would have been so obvious. I look back, on gaps, or I look back on things that I thought were just you finding yourself or taking time, or why you did this and didn't do that and all that kind of thing. And I went back and I counted on my fingers and looked at things. Did a little reading up, and she kind of looks at you and says, the Wikipedia page, by the way? And then she kind of just shakes her head. The typical intellectual's opinion of Wikipedia. It's obviously,
right.
Obviously, run by idiots. And so then she says, but yes, I can tell you this right now. I believe it. And I get it. It makes sense. It's you. We look back on Advance and I see you. It's you. The things you did, what you stood for, how it went. It all makes sense. She says, but it's a change. Is there anything you want to tell me about what you think you should do now?
Well, I thought we would just, after my powers stopped working, I thought we would just move on, and thought I would just move on and concentrate on the work that we've been doing and meeting you. And I but when it came down time to it, and there was that call to action, I had to act. And now hopefully he could stay retired. I don't want this to interfere with the company and with us. And
she doesn't even raise. She doesn't have to raise an eyebrow. She just kind of leans as if she was looking out the window, implying, well, there's a bunch of people out there who obviously feel differently without having to say a thing. This is going to be very difficult, role-playing somebody who communicates to you so intuitively that she doesn't say anything. I'm going to have to I'm going to be captions for Denise. She won't ever talk. It'll just be captions for what you get. So, okay, well, she's hearing you, and she says, all right. And she's indicated her, her skepticism about the viability of this idea, but she says, well, I have two things in mind. First is to finish this bottle of wine. And then, well, I never expected to hear that you were Advance, so you can say you never expected to hear this from me, but I'm going to take about a week off. and this is what she says next is not a surprise. I'll do a little hiking. She likes to hike. She likes to go out and think and hike. So she says, I'll do a little hiking. Stay a little bit out of, off the grid. I'm not going to check any emails or anything like that. Take a little break. I'll check in with you. But I think I'm going to go and lose myself in some trees for just a couple of days, and when I come back, she says, I'll have a plan. One thing, we know a lot more than you did back in the 80s. We know a lot more. There are things we can find out. You talk about the powers not working and working. We don't even know what they were. A lot of what we've done with the company works off of principles that other people still insist don't even exist. She says, I've got to stop myself before I start devising tests right now. Because I think I need that little transition.
That's a good idea. That's a good idea. He knows to back off.
Right.
He knows that that's the way it's going to be, and there's still security around.
Yeah.
Please don't go hiking. Bring a buddy. There's people around. That's that sort of thing, and also that this doesn't change who I am.
Right. She kind of smiles. Says that's
I'm still the same guy. I'm still the same hardworking guy who loves you.
She actually looks really secure in that. I mean, it was really a relief to go back and read up on Advance and say, oh wait, I get it. That's him. So it works for her. So all right. So it's kind of nice, right? Kind of a
sure.
Yeah. So on the other hand. We are looking at the other hand, we're looking at a scary, now I kind of wish we did. Did you ever find anything else about a prison, Alan, by any chance? Did you stop looking?
No, I found, so there is a maximum security prison about 45 minutes out of Seattle in a place called Monroe. And then there's the Supermax at the Washington State Penitentiary in Walla Walla, Washington, about 5 hours away.
Yeah, that's where it is. You know what? I've been to Walla Walla, so I know exactly what it looks like.
Incidentally, it's established in 1886, so it's like the first major prison in the state.
Interesting. Yeah.
Yes.
Well, cool. Yeah, good old Walla Walla. When I was there were 2 bars and 50 churches. Yes, I think that is just exactly right. So you are there. You have gone on a trip out. You have been discussing things, and we are going to presume that you in advance have at least contacted one another, or you've contacted him about on the recommendation of Dr. Darkstar to get in touch with Advance, and so you guys have at least hooked up enough. So Frank, you guys have not totally been on an excursion together or an operation or anything, but you do know that Power Star is up, running, available, and mobile. At the moment, he's a state away, but you know, and you don't know the extent of his mobility, but you know that he's pretty mobile. He can go places.
So I know that somebody, do I know him, or do I know that somebody has inherited the Power Star armor?
This is a very interesting point. At the moment, Power Star has returned. And I don't think that it's been very clear that someone else is in the armor. No one ever knew who Power Star was.
Okay.
And so therefore Power Star returning and Advance returning seem pretty similar in the public eye, even though their circumstances are very different. So now what he's told you about that, let's keep that minimal at the moment, if that works.
Yes.
Okay. So, anyway, all that said, in the Supermax in Walla Walla, there is an area which is, it's reasonably well appointed. Dr. Darkstar is 118 years old.
That's great.
Cool.
Although I'm going to say that he doesn't look like a, infirm old prune, but he definitely is frail, and he definitely is uniquely careful in his movements, and the medical treatment of him is, well, they had to devise basically a specialized medical protocol for him. The nature of his powers also are involved, so that's why he's not like in any records of the world's oldest man or anything like that, because he's considered to be, off the fair comparison for such a thing. So, and there are things that would ordinarily deteriorate with age that for him have not deteriorated at all. So it's kind of let the artist work
like
out exactly.
Intellect, for example.
Well, intellect for sure, but I was thinking more in terms of physicality. But but he is frail, and he is, kind of, he's clearly a very old man. So for a visual surprise, because you expect like a guy with no hair with one or two creepy looking strands, right? And and no, he's got a good healthy bush of white hair. I mean, he's
okay,
right. So anyways, yes, he has his, now this is kind of interesting. You're going to visit him, but why would Mike Mandela go off to visit Dr. Darius Darkstar, and how on earth would he be cleared for any such thing? So it seems to me only reasonable that you're going as Power Star.
Yes, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
That means that that means that there's some kind of established protocol.
Absolutely, right. That you've actually resurrected, that sat fallow, right, since the 60s. And so therefore, yeah, and then you're like, okay, I'm back, let me in.
So this is suggesting a little bit of backstory where Dr. Darkstar somehow managed to send me the key information for finding that in amongst Charles Edison's equipment.
It's it's quite clear that you found that after Power Star after Dr. Darkstar had been defeated sometime in the late 50s, around 1960, maybe even before that, actually, I'm thinking. Because this is an early history. I mean, this is a post-World War I history, not a post-World War II history. So, and a couple of other things. You know that Darius had actually been Power Star's classic techie, buddy to begin with. He had begun as that guy. This is Fletcher. He does my costume. There's one in all the Netflix shows, the technical guy back there working up all the shit for the guy. Well, that's who Darius was. Right.
Okay.
That's who Darius was for Power Star originally. And then, of course, the drama of it all, the betrayal, etc. So yes, you knew that. You figured out that there is personal history between the two besides the spectacular battles of the later phase. So by now, though, you've had multiple dialogues with the guy, and he, of course, is perfectly happy, to talk with you. So this is, you have a way of communicating with each other, I'm sure.
Yeah.
I'm not sure just how technical that is, how super tech that might be. I kind of don't want it to be like you can like talk to him on your wrist and he can like hit a button and cell and talk to you. I don't want it to be that easy.
So you're thinking more in terms of like drop boxes, or he gets something out to somebody who communicates with me.
Except that I don't think it's clandestine. I think that was set up for Power Star long ago.
Oh, okay.
And so, yeah, he's like, this is something that is allowed.
Okay.
Right. And it's thought of as something that Power Star set up, not something that Dark Star set up. For some reason, Power Star always wanted to go and talk to Darius Darkstar.
Okay. So I mean, it could be as simple as the red phone,
right?
But it's mediated by a prison official,
right? Exactly.
Yeah.
So at the moment we're going to lay off all the interesting questions about how does the government, particularly the police prison system, how are they confident that you are a legitimate Power Star, etc. Let's just say that you were able to get through that without giving it up, without giving up your secret identity. So, well, they never knew who Power Star was in the first place.
Yes.
So, so you're able to sort of ride on the coattails of that arrangement from long ago. You probably even have a way to arrive at the prison, so you don't have to go in through the ordinary doors. Ordinary doors are not for you.
Well, a simple way to do it is there might be some protocol where they're communicating through the red phone. The prison is set up to expect my arrival, and I essentially just teleport from one side of the wall to the other at a specific location.
Exactly. That's what I think, too, is that's absolutely right. And so, therefore, you shimmer into existence in a place that's sort of, it's actually got They just repainted the old stripes on the floor, like the old box that was painted on the floor in blue paint. That everybody knew that's where Power Star shows up. But of course, that paint has flaked off and been gone over the decades, and they just repainted it. So you're right.
Cool.
So yeah. You shimmer there, and there are people there whose job it is, and there's no one else. It's not like you're in the prison yard or anything like that. And so with, of course, security, because we always want to be secure. Yes, you power strides, to the Dark Star living places, which are minimal, but he's been there a long, long, long time, and he is, it's not like a beautiful little well-appointed apartment, but it is definitely a living space that he's got in there, with a certain amount of, items, nothing major, but some.
So yeah. I want to throw something in. I'm bringing like a little token of something that Darius enjoys.
Oh sure. Do you have an idea of what it is? Because I have one.
Guard would inspect the box and you take it on through. Geez, I don't know. Chocolate cherries.
Sure, why not? So yes, he is reading To the Land of the Electric Angel by Theodore Rotzler, science fiction of the 1970s. So he is reading this and is pleased to see you. He doesn't get up. Casual motions are not something that he does. But looks up at you with his sphinx-like gaze and is pleased. He sees the box and he's kind of gives the sort of look of
Dr. Darkstar, I hope they're treating you well this past little while.
Says, oh, we've all gotten to know each other very, very well in my world here.
I bet you have. I brought you a little bit something to liven up the environment.
My palate thanks you.
Yes.
He indicates a shelf. They cycle books in. He can't keep them forever, but he cycle books in, and he has quite a list that he works on. And he in his reading, he says, "Remarkable. How much more insightful." How much more insightful the body of science fiction is than any analytical works in their inadvertent revelations of society. He thinks back a little and says, H.G. Wells told me that he considered all of his prognostications to be anything but instead revelations of what could not be. And so he says he's looking at some of the science fiction that he's reading and saying, there is. He said, "Did you take?" It's seeming to change the subject, but he hasn't. Says, "Did you speak to the newly resurrected Advance?"
Yeah, we've had a conversation. I just told him that we were here. That I mentioned that you had mentioned that I contact him, and it's been interesting to learn that he's an energy specialist, like yourself, and like Power Star's progenitors. At this point, we've just had a superficial conversation. I'm not sure if he's clear on what he's planning to do with his super identity.
He shrugs slightly and says he's outed. Apparently, I doubt he's going to have much choice. And he taps the book as significantly. Taps the book and says, "Your grandfather and I were not the innovators. That properly belongs to Thomas himself and, of course, Nicola."
That's what little I know. I'm not too familiar.
I suggest that the technical expertise which you may feel you should acquire is far less important than perspective. And so he right, yeah.
Perspective. What's he getting at? Mm-hmm. Maybe I should read this book.
Right, there you go. And therefore, contact with an innovator such as this Mr. Vasilyevich, and he thinks a little bit and says, "I wonder what the real surname was." Because Vince's last name is actually a patronymic, not a surname. So it's clear that some Russian came over, and whoever wrote down the name heard three names and was like already too many syllables into the first, was like, oh, fuck it, and stopped after the second one. Right, so...
well, I figured that, because you had mentioned that, there was a lot of Russian immigrants up there.
Right. Yeah, I thought you were riffing on that. It makes sense. But for whatever reason, the third name, the actual surname in the family, was lost long ago. And so he's, Dr. Darkstar is just sort of musing on that. He's sort of, little side thought balloon. I wonder what the surname was. And then he goes back to it and says, contact with an actual innovator such as him, evidently intellectual as well as experiential, is going to require a great deal of judgment on your part.
What do you mean by judgment?
What is this energy of yours? Ours. What is it for? What could it be for? What should it not be for? These were not questions that existed for Charles and myself in the 1930s. We thought they did. We talked as if they did those questions, as if they existed for us in any meaningful way. Following 1945, those questions were revealed to be far different than we had perceived.
You're talking about the atomic bomb.
Among other things. And that, perhaps less spectacularly per instance, was only repeated again and again through the decades. No one can answer these questions for you unless you arm yourselves with perspectives and the readiness to judge. The chance of being overwhelmed by someone such as Advance in the moment are high. I don't really know who you are, Michael. But what matters is that you find out, and quickly.
That sounds like wise words.
Well, I've had a little time to think.
Yes.
I don't deserve much credit.
And lots of good books to read. So, as an aside, I take this as he's being Sphinx-like in mentoring. And,
from his, I suppose, a little bit. I mean, on the other hand, I think he's speaking as clearly as he can, at least at the moment, as I try to work my way into his skin a little bit. Who knows whether the obscurity of it all is simply because I'm bad at it so far. You know, I don't know if I'm doing my best over here, dancing as fast as I can. You made him up, man, not me. So yeah. Okay. Well, with that. So he starts to talk a little bit more about some of the equipment. He's asking about the teleport discs, and he points out that you know they require some attention, probably, which isn't a very comforting thought. At the idea, if there's something you want to work right, that would be high on the list. And so just as he's starting to do that is when suddenly absolutely nothing you've ever been warned about, told about, heard about, anything, all of a sudden he pitches backwards and a coruscation and reverberation of dimensional energies issues straight out of his chest, funneling upward, and clearly this is not a good experience for him as he convulses, and his eyes like look straight at you, and in horror in his eyes, and are starting to glaze.
Okay, is there an attendant
yes.
nearby? Or, yeah, or I imagine even a medical emergency button. I've never witnessed this before, I take it, so I'm going to probably just hit the nearest emergency call for an attendant.
Well, the impressive and broad-shouldered and one imagines gleaming-visaged Power Star, in terms of body language, an unsympathetic observer would see him as a fumbling, panicked, and not very assertive individual at the moment. Over there, you know, not exactly a leader of men at the moment, anyway. Fair? Okay. Unless you want to handle it differently. I was just sort of amused at the possible juxtaposition.
Oh.
Unless you want to collect yourself. Go ahead. and then take over as you see fit.
See, I see he has experience running a restaurant, and I see that as a high tension situation where you have to do a lot of directing of things.
Good point.
And there might even have been people choking at some point. You know, so a certain amount of emergency training. So there would be.
Don't want to be liable, man. That's for sure. Yeah.
He would kick into, go do this.
Excellent. Okay. So after a little bit of, hey, wait, I can do this, right? I got you.
Yeah.
Okay.
At least it's not the extra-dimensional Heimlich maneuver.
Well,
that's right.
Yeah, what I see, what was a little off-putting is the dimensional.
Right. The who knows what's, yes. Yeah. Okay. Well, we'll get to that in a moment. I also wanted to I realized I wanted to do a little dinner with you too, which screws up my pacing. Let's talk about you and Mike and Michelle a bit later, when and if we get the chance. But I don't want to leave them out.
Mm-hmm.
But at the moment, let's go ahead and cut back to Humboldt. Perhaps the next day, when Frank has the chance to talk to Gavin on site. And so it's been the news. Go ahead.
Just real quick. So to understand the timeline. So was the original Power Star active in the 80s?
No. The original Power Star
was already retired.
Well, the original Power Star ceased to be observed as such. It's hard to pinpoint it because, of course, who knows what the actual stopping moment was. But it was sometime around 1969.
Okay.
At the latest. He might actually have been less active, if active at all. People would say mid-60s.
Okay, so as of this, I don't even know about these teleport discs.
Well, at the moment, I think you've spoken. I think you've spoken with Frank, with Mike enough. I had conceived of one in Seattle, one in Portland, one in Vancouver, and one in somewhere in Northern California. And it seems like it might be too much of a gimme for the Humboldt Arcata, but it might be okay. For purposes
too much of a coincidence, you mean?
I can live with it. I mean, I can live with the energy stuff. Actually, makes it work because these are all centers of energy management that are hooked together in really interesting ways. There's a grid of hydroelectric power transfer through those cities and areas, which is not trivial. It's actually pretty cool. So that actually puts a little bit more justification. Okay, so what I have to say is that you and Gavin are on site at the office/labs, and this is a working area. This is not like there's not a corporate receptionist. There's not a, it's not like a front office. There's no mid-level executives roaming the quarters trying to look busy. There's no, it's pretty damn practical. And the labs are, they're mostly notable because of their shielding, I would say. You have to go into areas. I've been at the Fermi Labs at the University of Chicago. As buildings, they're actually not that impressive. The rooms are internally exceptionally well built, shielded, and specialized looking. Nobody made them look cool or fancy. So I don't know. Maybe I'll come up with some pictures to send you guys about what I'm thinking. But I'm thinking about some very, very. Sometimes it's kind of boring. Sometimes one of the most important pieces of equipment, like a particle accelerator, it just looks like a tube. There's a tube and there's like a instrument panel at one end, and You know, like nothing else is in the room. It's like this bare room, 50 feet long, and there's just this tube running down it. And it's not even lit up, or there's no chrome or anything like that. It's that. So I'm thinking about stuff like that, but with some pretty good computer equipment, laptops and stuff that take data and transmit it to the right cloud and all that and whatnot. So okay, you're in one of these, and Gavin, kind of, he looks like a very well-appointed Easterner. He went to, this is a guy who actually finished up in finance and kind of was aimed at the banking sector, and sometime around 10 years ago decided to take a turn and go into working with people like you instead. And it clicked.
Okay.
And so he's not a scientist, but he's quick and he's picked up what he needs to. So he's not there to go over numbers with you for results. He's there to talk about the business as a business. And as a network of investments rather than, left to you two and your wife, you guys probably would have just shoved a piggy bank on the shelf and just had money go in and pull out money when you need it, and he just put his face in his hands and fixed all that shit. That's kind of that's my speculation. So he's a guy about 40. He's got but he doesn't look right. He doesn't look local. The hair is groomed in a different way. He wears those, he's not wearing sandals or sneakers. I mean, what on earth, right, here in Humboldt. So he's talking. He doesn't wear a tie. He grew out of the tie eventually, gave it up. And so he's talking with you though, and he's like amazed at the advance thing. He's been thinking. He says, we have got to run with it. We can't pretend this didn't happen. The kinds of services that we're developing here, the kinds of investments that we're offering, the kinds of potential we have for expansion into use, all of those things can't help but be impacted by your history. And if they're not going to believe that we didn't know. No one's going to believe that we didn't know here. No one's going to believe it. We have to run with it. We have to say, "Oh, you caught us." And we have to turn it into a justification for other people's continued commitment to what we're doing. Does that make... he says... He shrugged and I said, "Sometimes I forget who's the boss. I just told you we have to." How many times?
Well, look. This is something that obviously wasn't planned for. And my only big concern is this is going to take us away from the work. This is the work that we're doing, and this is you know how important this is to us here at the company and to the community and to the world. So I don't want this to become a sideshow of hey, let's see some of Advance's tricks.
So the cartoon logo of Advance as the new company mascot, I'm guessing that's out.
Yeah, we're not going to be doing that. It's bad enough, right. Have you seen this? Have you seen what they're posting? Get Vance, bro. He shows on his phone some big cat.
That's right.
It's like, get Vance, bro.
Well, the 40,
this is not a joke. This is our lives.
Yeah. The 40-year-old and the 60-year-old exchange a look of kids these days. And he says, well, that's why actually I've got somebody that I want you to meet. Her name is Janelle, and she's a publicity and promotional expert. And it's about time that we brought somebody in with a real practical sense of how to do that. And I think you'll find she really knows what she's doing. So anyway, she'll be here in a couple of hours. Get a chance to meet her.
Okay.
Let's
delegate this off.
Well, yeah. I mean, obviously, your opinions are going to be where the buck stops, but somebody's got to know, like, what Reddit is. I mean, you guys don't. So it's
okay. Right, right.
So good. The way that we are pulling this together at the moment is to have the aforementioned cool tube thing, which is sort of a particle accelerator, but not quite. It's another kind of thing. It's a valuable and important and irreplaceable, piece of machinery. Therefore, the hideous crunching noise that comes from it right at this moment is not a welcome sound at all.
Coming from the equipment?
Coming from the equipment.
Coming from the quote-unquote accelerator. Okay. So he, rushes to one of the monitoring screens. What the heck is going on here?
And Gavin, terrified of this object as he has been for years,
right?
Completely meaninglessly and uselessly crouches and throws his hands over his head as if that would do anything.
He's looking at his radiation badge, right?
Right. Well, at the moment, this is just his first reaction, is completely, intuitive. So you're taking a look, and I believe this will take an intelligence roll.
Okay.
3d6.
13. What is it? Negative. And intelligence is 27.
Right, so you've actually got a 14 or less. That's not a problem.
Okay.
So good, yes. So excellent. You have you quickly realize that the equipment has not, the noise that it made, the thing that was going on, is nothing that could have happened internally. So therefore, it did not malfunction or suddenly, reverse its polarities and create some hideous vortex or anything like that.
Okay.
So that's the good news. You're like, wait, but the trouble is that what did hit it was obviously something that was severely damaging. And so now your attention has been focused on the machine. So it takes you a second to realize that there is a person standing in a corner, in the far corner, which previously the bulk of the machine had shielded from you. So when you run over there and are looking at it, that you can now see into that area, and there she is. And so she is a leggy woman, kind of tallish, about 5'10", with a weird face, which is her face is completely either obscured or disturbingly replaced by a completely smooth iridescent surface, which at the moment is kind of a golden sparkly effect. Now it's rendered doubly weird by the fact that her hair is extremely human. It's like even coiffed in kind of a Molly Ringwald bob kind of thing. It's actually, but it's fully present exactly where you would expect it to be. It's just that it's framing this freak out kind of face thing. And otherwise, she looks fully like a person with what appears to be some sort of very form-fitting outfit with panels, particularly one like a triangle pointing down here with a gemstone that's the same color, and then And everything about her just bespeaks intense athleticism. She's standing not in like a battle crouch, but in kind of a confident, kind of graceful striding forward way. She's carrying what may be some sort of long staff or rod, fairly narrow through, like only about that big around, that seems to be made of the same gem-like material as her face and the thing on her chest. Same color as well. And that's, as I say, that thing's almost 6 feet long, and she's holding it almost like it's, completely in tune with her motions. Yes, she's striding toward you. She has just thwacked your machine and done untold damage to it.
Is there any other technicians and things in here?
I figured that at the moment there wasn't. I mean, the thing usually, it wasn't like running, or they weren't doing a test on it. I mean, if they had been doing that, you guys wouldn't have been in there.
Gotcha.
It's just, you were wandering through, you were going to different places. You always want to take a look at each machine every time you go, right? And you're like, how's this one doing? That's kind of where you were. And so to give you a better idea of the room, it is a long room, at least. It has to be long to house this thing's necessary length. And so, when you're zipping particles down a thing, you need some length. So it 60 feet long. So the room itself is at least 90 feet long. So pretty damn long. And also, there's bench space running along the long side. On the other side from the tube, there's room. You can go anywhere around the tube. There's room on the other side of the tube. It's not flush against the wall. And there's plenty of messy equipment on the receiving end of the tube, and a very simple looking but very, very, very expensive and very precise panel set up at the other end of the tube. And of course it's got like a funnely end because I can't imagine it not having one. I have no idea what that would be for if you're a particle, but it has a funnely end. And so it's painted white. The room itself is a relatively neutrally beige that people have livened up with a few plants and, colorful posters like scientists do. Probably, this thing's been around for a while. There's probably, several different workspaces with any number of cartoons and stuff, that have been posted up there, and plenty of note-taking, binders shoved into spots. You don't need sterile technique in a lab like this, but it's also considered bad to leave your coffee cup sitting around and have messes. So OSHA would not approve. And so therefore you have not any kind of human detritus. That's not a problem. But it is messy because thinking people work here. So there's 6 or 7 workspaces of this kind running down that side of the room. There are no windows. This is a windowless area. Ceilings, standard ceiling. And she was on the other side of the tube, and she's walking along the other side of the tube, as if she had. There's no way to get into that corner, by the way. That's where she was. Now she's walking along the other side of the tube, looking at you. Well, her face is turned toward you anyway, as she's striding along, and that's what's happening. Just to hook you guys up synchronously, it is exactly at that moment that Darius pitches over.
Okay, that's interesting.
Yeah. I I kind of sidestep a little bit to make sure that I'm between her and Gavin.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and in the managerial voice, who are you, and how did you get in here?
Excellent. Okay. So the first thing is that what's your presence?
Okay, my regular presence is 13.
Right, and you have not hero ID'd at this time. So that's a base of 3 dice, and you're not demonstrating a power, and you have no reputation in this sense at the moment. And you also have, and doesn't apply to her for reasons, and I want you to use your best managerial voice, which is good, but it wasn't like there was any profound content, so that's a plus D6, not more.
Okay.
And I'm trying to think of anything else that applies particularly, but it doesn't. Go ahead and roll those 46. And sum them up.
11 plus 2 is 13.
Right.
Not very impressive.
Right. She makes no response whatsoever to that. Doesn't break stride. Clearly you did not equal her presence. And so we're going to go into segment 12, and that accounts for Mike Mandela as well, or for Power Star as well. The first thing to do then is go buy some dexes and some actions. We're talking about a pretty quick dex on her part, as you might expect. What are the dexterities we're talking about?
23.
Okay. And how about...
And I am 18.
Top of the action, segment 9. Doesn't have the same ring as segment 12 in my head. It's going to be a long time for me to adjust. But okay. And so the first to go is, and just as a... No, it's going to have to be an action on your part. This mysterious person vaults in a highly acrobatic fashion over the tube. You know, so basically she sort of kicks herself over the tube to land, and has done so in such a fashion as to place herself between the two of you and the door.
Okay.
And
got
so, right. And so, by the way, I didn't ever give the width of the room. The width of the room it's a narrow room relative to its length. So it's only about 25 feet across, I would say, if we convert that into 8 hexes. She stands tall, turns one shoulder toward you, and sort of slides or plants that staff perfectly between you and her vertically, and its tip is like this far off the ground, the bottom tip. And so she's setting it forth, and her face, like, even though she has no features, the body language is so clear. She has locked gazes with you. That's her action. So next person to go is therefore Power Star.
Well, my action...
We're sort of playing the camera simultaneously across the screen.
And not knowing what is going on, except that there's some weird dimensional vortex coming out of Dr. Darkstar, my first thing is to go for the attendant, the emergency button, assuming that if this has happened before, they know something about it.
Sure.
Other than that, I'm going to turn around and just observe the room. You know, what's going on? What's the dimensional vortex look like?
Mm-hmm.
You know,
excellent. The first thing that I can tell you is that since we have a 0 phase action of talking to the attendants,
yes,
that's handled. That is handled, and they get to go on this phase too. So within microseconds, they will act. So that's all good news, right there.
Oh yeah, and talking is no time. So
therefore,
the doctor's in trouble.
Right. Yeah. So therefore, your perception roll right now is 100% justified. So do that.
Okay, so that will be, let's see, intelligence 18 means I have a 13. And I roll a 10.
Fabulous. All right. Well, your familiarity with the equipment and things you've talked about with Dr. Darkstar are just enough for you to grab a clue, which is that an external source has acted in such a way that the energy fields upon which Dr. Darkstar draws, which you now realize are not damped or curtailed or restricted in any way by anything at this prison. You're like, oh, wait a minute. He's been like powered up the whole time.
Yeah.
Right?
We had the thought bubble.
Right. Exactly.
He's had full power the whole time.
Exactly. Right.
Be committed to serving his time.
Mm-hmm. And so then he something has interfered, something strong enough, something orthogonal enough to the energies we're talking about, has literally gone and disrupted all of the balances and conduits and uses of this energy, and this is what this kind of thing is what's keeping him alive. So this is life-threatening, and it's external. What your perception roll gets you is a blink effect of actually being in a different room from this one for a moment. And the different room is, you're not familiar with it, but you do recognize Vince.
Vince. Yeah. Okay.
It's an eye blink. That's what the perception gets you.
Okay.
And also that there's more to learn. So can't all do it in one perception. But that's what you're getting at the moment. Mm-hmm. So, good enough.
Yes.
Let's take it down then to Vince's action.
I'm keeping on her gaze there, mm-hmm. Like, are you really gonna make me do this? I assume you know who I am. Are you really going to make me do this? And I kind of like shift my eyes up. How tall are these ceilings?
Right. Good point.
Are they like the 12-foot ceilings? Or are they a little higher?
This one, your 1 times growth won't have a problem. You'll bulk up and be in it. The 2 times growth, you're going to have to not make too many sudden movements that way. The 4 times one, you'll knock yourself out. Yeah. I do kind of like that. You're like, you still haven't taken your action. All of this is you didn't need a perception roll to see how high the ceiling is. Yeah, that's just a look. So that's just a free action.
He kind of sets his jaw and goes, "Oh, I can't believe this," and he goes ahead and shifts into the ×1.
Excellent. So that is your instant change, and the nice thing about that is that's still 0 phase. So yes.
So I'm gonna say it again.
Mm-hmm.
Is this really what you want to do?
Go. Excellent.
So now there's a
real one.
A little extra presence.
+1 for displaying your power. +2 for a reputation, and or +1 for reputation. Love the monologue. Solid D6 on that one. A little more specific. Let's make it 2D6. That was a little less prissy manager and a little bit more gonna kick your ass.
right.
So that's good. I mean, that's giving that's giving you +4. So you've got 7 dice on this one.
7 dice.
Yes.
And then the growth times 1 gives an extra 5 presents.
8 dice.
So I just add oh, okay. So how I get the extra dice, and then it's every 5 points gives a D6?
Presence and strength are exactly equivalent. Always have been. Yeah. Presence and strength are figured exactly the same, just as they always have been.
Okay.
They are effectively, I realized, they're the only 2 scores that work like that. They work like powers.
Got it.
Strength, presence, and powers all use the same currency.
Okay, so that's 3 dice, 9. 9 plus 10, 19. 19, 26 total.
26. Excellent. So here we are talking. That's what I thought. Okay, good. So yes, in this case, you've got an important thing. Keep this in mind for your next for an action. You've got a little bit of a hesitation on her part. Even if she were hypothetically prepared for this, it's a little different when it's in your face.
Right.
This particular, but the artist had a good time with that one.
Right.
That's what presence dice buy you, more ink. So let's go ahead and have you take again. You've been like Mr. Free Action this whole damn time. Give me your action now. Now, if you want to hold off and see if she's going to like really fight or not, that's fine. But that gives you the chance for a cool-ass perception or intelligence roll or anything like that.
I gotcha. Okay. So, I'm going... Then I'll make an intelligence roll on the nature of this coloring or...
Right.
Particle movement, perhaps, or anything that I could determine with that.
Beautiful. Go ahead and roll.
And this is just a regular 3d6.
Yeah.
All right, that's 12, 15. That's bad.
Yes, that's bad.
You want low rolls on these checks. Okay.
Right. So you have a 14 or less, and you got a 15. So your thought balloon is, that is so weird.
Okay.
Right. And so I can't get the energy signature. Can't suss out that energy signature yet. So that's that. Now we have, I believe, the end of that segment. And so you haven't used. I don't think anybody's used any endurance except for her movement. So therefore, everybody's at par for their endurance as we move into segment 2. She says, I don't know how I got here, but I know who you are, and Gemfire will take you down. And so, and she's got a Central European accent that's not worth identifying unless you want to take the time to think about it, which you probably don't. So, therefore, if you want to like dust off your memory and take the half phase for it, you can figure out who this is if you want with an intelligence roll, but it's up to you when and if you want to do that in the middle of her kicking you. So, which is exactly what's going to happen. As she does, of course, a truly outstanding attack attack with a... what is your DCV? Which I believe is 6, actually, correct? And so... and you have not told me where you stuck that skill level. I'm going to give it to you. Which did you want to put that skill level on offense or defense, even though you didn't?
I see.
But I imagine you would have.
Defense is fine.
Sure. Okay, so that puts you at CV7, DCV7, and and so she's coming in with her really unpleasant DCV and has rolled a 12, or OCV, and has rolled a 12 to do this to you. With a really, really, really nice body hit, too. So that's going to be 10 body and 28 stun. And what is that going to do to you at this time?
Okay. I see. My defense is 10.
So that means you're going to take 18 stun and no body. So,
okay.
Okay. So yes. So basically, yes, what she does is just this, right down the middle. It looked like she was moving in a circle in some weird way, and she ended up like right in front of you instead, and just like, drove it straight into you. And it's really, she caught you in some way that really messed with your balance. That's what the find weakness is. She found, she was like, okay, his balance point's there. And so, and really dug it in. You were like, wow, she's like a third of my size, and if she hits me another time like that, I'm dropping. So, so that's kind of, that's the big ouch for you. And so, that's the end of phase 2, and we move into segment 3. And as you can see from the speed chart, it's very, very nasty to have a speed of 6. Speed 6 is crazy fast. It's no longer speed 6 from the 12 chart. And so she's hitting you again. I said she was going to hit you again. That's what you thought. But she actually bypasses you.
Okay.
And uses the pole staff, which of course is Ricci, to nail the machine again. And does...
No!
Yeah,
my
like,
baby!
No, hit me! 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And so this time, since she didn't find weakness on the machine, she doesn't get the extra die. And so she punctures a piece of it. So clearly her attention seems to be on that. So that's that for her move, and the next person up will be Michael. And I think Alan may have stepped away for a moment.
He just said, "Be right back."
Okay, so we'll give him a sec.
So
yeah.
So in the meantime, so 0 body, you're in big trouble. That's when you're kind of shuffling the mortal coil.
Not quite. The way I'm doing it is that you can, I'm still playing with this a little bit, but you can actually recover. Recovery will help with that. The trouble is when you hit it again. If you're taken to body to 0 a second's time, then you're in that dying situation.
Okay.
So, and the same thing goes with stun. Taken down to 0, you're knocked out, but the next recovery does count, and you are now at that value.
Okay, got it.
And you can do recoveries from there if you get a chance. But if you get taken down to stun knockout 0 a second time, then you're out. And in Champions Now, once you're out, you wake up when the GM says. There is no.
I see.
There's no negative values. Okay. There's nothing like that.
That's a nice mechanic.
Yeah.
So the knockout is 3 times body.
Right. Which is pretty much where your stun always ended up anyway.
Yes.
So
okay, I'm with you. I'm with you.
So cool. It's Alan. It's your turn on her second hit or second strike when she had got to go first on phase 4 was after the machine. So she's whacked the machine twice now.
Yeah. So I am not physically present. So what I'm thinking is that this is basically an intervening panel where I turn to the attendants and say, "Have you seen this before?"
Mm-hmm. And their answer is no. And someone else shouts, every reading is, either off, it's either way under or way over. And so they've gone into pure medical mode because their point is to keep him physiologically alive. Mm-hmm. As much as they can. I mean, someone will say, we've never had a code this high before on him. I mean, yeah.
So, and then my thought bubble is, I wish I was more familiar with this technology. It's obvious that this is somehow connected with Vince down or Advance, and but I'm 6 hours away from my nearest teleportation disc, so I can't see how I can help it. I'll just have to concentrate on the doctor here.
Mike manages to speak and manages to grate out, and he says, "Disc under there." Yeah. And he like gestures with his eyes, "Under there."
Oh, you mean Darius, the doctor?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, all right. I will head there.
Which is like there in his room.
Yeah. Okay. And do what I'm familiar with.
Excellent.
I've used these before. So, I step onto it. If it's just a disc standing, if it's just like there.
Right.
I step onto it. It interacts with the armor I'm wearing.
Exactly.
So,
right.
And I tap into the long distance power tap to the central base in Seattle. So the power and the activation is already right here for me. So I guess I'm going to activate my long distance teleport.
Excellent. So in you go and vorp, vorp, vorp. And you end up standing there.
Can I interject? Can I interject? This is inspired by Tesla, so I'm seeing like lots of lightning streaks and crackling sounds, that kind of thing.
That works for me.
Yeah.
It's the great curse of reality that so many energy discharges are actually invisible. That the ones that are visible, we are going to milk them for all that they're worth.
If I read the rules correctly, I'm going to be paying about 8 endurance for this. Unless the slot includes 2 times mass, but do I have to use that?
No, you're fine. 2 times mass is an option.
Okay, so I'm just paying the 8 endurance.
Right. And you end up on this same phase, phase 3, you end up Zapparuni in the receiving spot, which is actually in the government offices of Humboldt.
Okay.
Right. So you are, like in the city hall.
In the city hall.
Right. And as a matter of fact,
fight City Hall.
Right, in an office where clearly nobody had thought about this disc's present for some time, and the councilwoman and the, shall we say, nicely set up male secretary are both surprised to see you. They would be surprised to see anyone at that particular moment of their consultation. But they're especially surprised to see you.
Okay, so I say, I need to get to Vikrov's Vasilych's lab immediately.
What's the name of your business? Vince, for Vince's visits. Frank, do you have any ideas? Like right off the cuff? We don't have to suffer over it.
It's advanced has to be in there somewhere, right? I mean, but yeah, I should have thought of that already, but it's like
okay,
advanced.
That's fine. We'll hang up. Well, if it doesn't jump to mind, we can breathe and do it later. But that's the name that Mike uses. It would seem. So the secretary, who is a quick-thinking fellow, apparently rummages for a second and hands you a city map. Oh, wait, even better. There's probably like one up on the wall, right? Being a councilman's office and all the rest of it. So basically, quick-thinking fellow points at where you are, points at where it is.
Crap. What's the fastest way to get there? Call me a cab.
Wait, do you have a short-term teleport at all?
I only have short-range teleport. So.
There are worse things. I mean, you can get, using that, you can get to, we can hand wave this a little bit, and cut you a little slack on the teleport cross downtown. As you pointed out, the lab is in the city proper. It's not hidden away on a mountain somewhere. So the transport to get there, we're not going to worry about too much. It's a small city. This is not a big city. So you've done your action for this phase, though. So therefore, we're going to move. Right. So now it is finally Advance's action on 4. On 3. Sorry. On 3.
Okay. I'm going to attempt a grab action.
Okay. And so you go right ahead. She's got +2 for her acrobatics that she'd done.
Sure.
And she's also got, she also has another thing too. So I know the CV you're up against. Your CV coming in, I believe, is 6.
It's 6.
Right. So go ahead and roll and tell me what you get.
So I'm looking for low on this. Right, on this one.
Like really low.
Okay, I got a 9.
It is low, but she is it's that acrobatics is just totally, actually that's what made the difference. Has totally done the job on that. And so she is, pretty much, yeah. So, and that's, as an attack, that's the end of your go. The good news is that on 4, the first person to go is Michael, and I'm going to say that it's really not going to be too dreadfully terrible for you to blink, to the next place. It will cost you endurance. So you, I'm going to give you a, you're technically not in combat, so I'm going to give you a little slack on this. You get further than just the 15 inches, and so therefore find yourself you're oriented. The map did the job. In fact,
okay.
0 phase, make an intelligence roll just to be sure. Just to be sure you don't get lost. I think that's fair. Unfamiliar city.
Okay, I got an 8.
Perfect. You got yourself right. You got you're like keeping the map in your mind, right? So so you're fine. You're like you land on the city street and you look right, look left, and you're like, there it is.
And then
right. So
teleport there.
Well, that's going to be your next move. So that was on 4, and so now Vince does have another action now at the end of 4.
Okay, yeah, because grab is a half phase maneuver.
Right, but it was an attack, so therefore you're done.
Got it.
Right. So now we're on the next. We're now on phase 4, and it's your action on 4 that we're doing right now.
Okay, so I could, but a presence attack is an attack.
No, it's not.
Right?
Not for this purpose.
No, it's not.
Right. For this purpose, I'll have to double check on that, but I think that we treat presence attacks are not even 0 phase; they're literally free.
Okay, then
three actions, which means you can even do them off phase.
Oh, gotcha.
Right.
You're not going to dodge forever, and you can see what's going to happen when I get my hands on you.
That's right. Uh-huh. Ah, right. Good idea. Uh-huh. Go ahead.
All right, so that's 9 plus 7, 15.
16.
Plus 5 is
21.
16.
21. Perfect. That's actually quite nice. And so this is very much like the Hulk on Spider-Man kind of situation at the moment. And so so that actually jars. That seems to have definitely, you beat her presence. She definitely you caught her attention. She's not like going to be wailing on the machine. She's now she's definitely taken off stride with that. And so now, are you going to make another attack of some kind, or what are you going to do?
Yeah, I'm going to do another grab.
Okay. I will shift the target number in my head due to your presence attack. Is there anything you want to do?
That is another 9.
Oh. You needed an 8. It's like creeping, right? So okay, but I'm going to say that due to the effective presence attack, her action on 5 is therefore not to attack you or the machine. You basically, rattled her. And with a second grab, good. I mean, even though distance from target number doesn't matter in Champions, but narratively it makes sense that grab did come closer. And so therefore that she's definitely doing the, skate away kind of thing. As a matter of fact, she's going to move all the way down. She can't make it all the way to the other end of the tube from here, but she's going to zip down. Well, let's see. Yeah, she's going toward the door. Right. She will zip down to the end of the tube that's closer to the door, and she's going to threaten it with her rod, and she's telling you, and she's saying, I'm here to take this thing out. Do you really want to fight about it?
Well, seeing as this is my life's work, why would you want to destroy that?
This
is
point,
just scientific equipment.
This whole that the featureless oval, which by the way is kind of a turquoisey now, and the gem and the staff have turned turquoisey. They iridescent turquoisey. But I mention it because the oval of her face cants a little, just like this. When you say that, and she goes, "What?" The association with advance with scientific equipment baffles her. Just baffles her. It's like, so, and if there's one thing on this earth that the world right now associates, it's Vince, Advance, and Energy Company.
Yes, okay.
So to her, that was like, okay, so, therefore, excellent. Then 6. Fantastic. Ooh, ouch. Sorry, machine. This time she gets through its defense, and this time the machine definitely takes a horrifying... It was damaged before. This time we're talking about some really unpleasantry done to your lovely accelerator thing when she basically spins the staff so it's practically, a pinwheel, and then drops into a one knee down position, like with the staff laid like on her shoulders but extending way out. And so when she drops, it like slices the tube in half. Right. So yes, that's what she does at the top of 6. And that very next moment, vorp, 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 is when Power Star arrives.
Okay.
Now exactly
have I
where
used my
you
phase to arrive?
Yeah, I think you have, and the reason that I'm having you land there is because you had already perceived the room, right, in that eye blink before. So if you just visualize that and like risk it,
okay,
you can get there.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so burning endurance though has been ugly for you.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
If
So,
I've done another shot, let's see here.
Those grabs, by the way, each of those cost you your strength endurance. I hope you had. Let's make sure you notated that. It's sort of annoying to pay endurance for misses, but it's more fun that way too for me. Oh, and speaking of which, she's been burning too, hasn't she? Martial arts costs less endurance than many things, but it doesn't cost nothing. Okay. So we're all enduranced, I think. And so, yep. Therefore, yes, you have arrived. Do you want to say something? Do you want to look? I will give you a look about if you want, without too much trouble.
Yeah, I think that's the first instinct, is just to take in the scene.
Excellent. Cool. Make an intelligence roll. This is a good time for that. He's intelligence rolling all over the place. Might as well.
Made it by 3.
Ooh, excellent. So, yes, this is Gemfire. Gemfire was a German supervillain from back before the fall of the wall. I mean, like when you were born is when she's from. And she looks like she looked and was inactive. She's widely thought to have ceased her activities with the fall of the Berlin Wall, hypothesized. So,
Mike's perspective on this is he was probably about 8 years old.
That's right. You guys have recognized her and are probably well aware that there is no way on this earth that this woman could look and act the way she does right now at this time, unless something funky and dimensionality oriented could possibly be happening.
Yeah.
Okay. And so that is the end of that go, I think. Let's see, 6. That was 6. No, 6. So we do have advances next action. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. I look at her now that I've recognized her. Gemfire? I mean, why are you doing this? Mm-hmm. And I go, okay, look, and I'll shift. I'll use my instant change is a 0 action, right?
Right. Uh-huh.
Again, so I'll shift back down.
Ooh. Okay.
And I'll go. Why are you doing this?
Okay. When you shift back down, you do dreadful damage to the floor and the immediate surroundings.
Oh, that's right. That's right. I forgot about that. Which he would have too, you know? It's like, oh, geez.
Yeah, no, it works for me. And so, therefore, you are entangled. Oops. You are entangled for 3. And so, as you're kind of like lying there in the rubble of your lab,
this is the side effect he has as a disadvantage.
Yes.
And so...
in the heat of battle, he's so used to shifting in and out of his form that he forgot.
Yeah, exactly. So I've got a couple of things to tell you. She's going to open her mouth to respond, and she looks at you and says... Well, not open her mouth. But she'll look at you, and she shifts to a midnight blue gem. And just the color changes, and says, I don't know. And so, and at that point, a thing will happen. But before the thing, what does Power Star do? There's always taking a recovery.
Well, wait a minute. Didn't I already go on segment 6?
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I got myself mixed up. But you get to go first on 7.
Okay. So he's Advance has gone back to his
right
scientist self, and he's trying to talk to this woman.
Right, and also it's quite dramatic. Somehow he did the energy discharge when he shifted downsized was dramatic, and you're really glad you weren't standing there. Tunneling doesn't actually work on people, but it's not like you know that. Right.
I think I completely misunderstand what he's trying to do, and I'm just going to. Okay, so let me run this by you. I have a teleport, and another of my powers is the ability to float in the air. And then I have this 3 dice flash that's dimensional disorientation. So my thinking is to teleport somewhere behind her, if I can, 7 hexes away. What's that? 40 feet.
Yeah, that's fairly substantial, yes. Matter of fact.
Yeah. And just hit her with the dimensional distortion.
No problem. To set up where that's going to place yourself, it doesn't really matter, given the distance of the teleport. It doesn't really matter where you entered the room, but just tell me now where you are. It sounds to me like you're basically going to be almost squarely in the center of the room in all dimensions, as far as I can tell. In my visualization.
Yes, but I want to be flanking her.
No problem, because she's no problem at all. Okay. Right. So she is going to so she's going to be, that's a very good surprise move. You got a +2 CV on that. So go ahead, and so you've got a CV of 10, and so make your roll. 3 to 6. Tell me what you get.
Do I just tell you what the dice say?
Yeah.
Okay. So dice say 9.
Oh, fantastic. Needed a 10 or less? You got her. So all the weird energies given off by your teleport, which in this case, for no good reason, leave a trail, right, which intersects her.
Oh, I like that.
Right. So, why not? We don't dictate that you always leave a trail, but if it's useful, you do. And so, she's, completely, you can tell, she does the whole, disoriented, crouch, head shake, try to figure out where she is kind of response. So that would have been on the beginning of 7. Next is...
I rolled the number body for the flash?
Yeah. Go ahead.
Oh, Lord. 2.
2. That's all right. That's all right. There are worse things than that. And so, especially considering the timing, you hit her on 7 and she goes on 8 and 9. So you just basically hammered both of her moves for the rest of the... So therefore, what does Vince do? Game terms, she's at DCV 0.
Okay, but I'm stuck.
Right, yes you are. Okay. So...
There's like rubble, right. A little bit of rubble all around me.
It's also
flooring is all poking up.
True, but what's holding you down is actually the disjunct of your fabric of your being with the fabric of the universe, and so therefore,
okay.
And so therefore, the visuals is that you're all whacked and out of phase, and fading in and out of reality. Yeah. So go ahead. You can exert yourself. That's right. You can exert yourself into reality just by muscling your way in. So go ahead and make an ordinary strength. You got a strength of 10, correct? 13? 13.
Yeah.
Roll 3 dice. If you want to actually break out of this, you're going to want to push.
Okay, and real quick, how does pushing work? That costs endurance?
Yes, it does. If you spend the 3 for your strength in the first place, right? Then if you spend 10 more, that effectively gives you 10 more points of strength, which is 5 dice.
Okay, so I'm spending a total of 13 endurance? Okay, yes. Got it. All right, so that's 9.
Oh, sorry. Just count the body on these dice. Roll 5 dice and just count the body.
And the body's 5 or 6, right? Or just 6?
The body is 1 for every die. Unless it's a 1, in which case that one doesn't count. Or unless it's a 6, in which case it's worth 2.
Okay, got it. So on the first 3 dice, that's
no. Just give me all 5 of them. Yeah, go ahead. Oh, it's 2 body on that. Go ahead.
So 4 body total.
No problem. You actually are able to gain control and get yourself back into reality partially.
Okay.
So 3. You had to overcome 3 defense and now take down 3 body of entangle. So you were able to actually get the push allowed you to dent the entangle. So,
I see. Right.
So you're sort of thrashing yourself into, more standing position and getting a little bit more with it. So that's that for the end of 7. Now in 8, when she goes and you don't, there is a weird sizzling flat crack that actually reverberates through the entire city. Everybody in Humboldt hears this weird sizzling flat crack, and right where she was standing is a completely different person. He's taller. He's actually quite bulky, although normally sized. He's really built, and one of those substantial people who's it's not like a real gym lean body. It's a bulky body. Handsome black man with the kind of his hair's in cornrows, but it's not like really cool ass Predator Drades 90s. It's real basic. And he's got goggles which could easily have, they've got the oval, the teardrop, they're almost Elton John goggles. But they're fitting. They fit the face, right? So they actually are protective. And otherwise is also dressed in what you now remember as spandex, just like she was. But in this case, it's not just spandex. It's kind of like a spandex, vesty kind of thing, and so skin tight on the legs. And his boots are not truly puffy, but they are big. They're built up. The boots are, they actually like have this much distance off the calf all the way around. And it's sort of like the costume, the original Falcon costume. It's got the V-neck and bare arms, but the hands have the same kind of slightly puffy gloves that his boots are. So you can't get more dated than this guy. Think of pre-MTV 80s.
Okay, yeah, got it.
Yeah, very specific look that vanished. Got much more refined, much glitzier just a few years later. And the color scheme is just a wonderful metallic dark blue of the costume. Just a wonderful, So he actually, looks kind of cool. So, in a dated fashion way, and just as when he appears, bubbles, black gleaming, non-transparent or sort of barely transparent bubbles are just forming into, profusing in their number, in substance all around him. Just bubbles. The looks on your faces are completely... Yes.
So this is still phase 9.
Mm-hmm. And so the first person to go is Power Star. Because so that's who goes.
guess it's just to take a step forward and say, your friend left, maybe you should too.
Oh. No, that would be another basic presence attack. However, interestingly enough, you do get 1 die for reputation because everybody recognizes Power Star.
Okay.
So add your basic presence, which is 15-ish? 20. 4 dice plus 1, 5 dice. Whew, this guy's got...
I figured I gave him 20 because of the rep.
Yeah.
So, 16.
Okay. Not bad. Although I'm afraid that Dr. Bang is going to take more presence than that. So,
right on.
Mm-hmm. And so I'm a bad man and I'm going to hell. Okay. We have yes, so he says right after this meets a few bubbles. And he gestures toward the machine. That's his response.
No. Gavin's probably there calculating like dollar signs, like, oh God.
Right. Good point. Yeah, Gavin hasn't been able to get out of the room.
This over 7 years. Oh, yeah, what are we gonna do?
Well, not only that, but I mean, Gavin has a perfectly. It is 9. He does get an action, and I'm going to give him his little speech right now, which is very much of, I have your action figure.
Wait, who's thinking that?
No, Gavin says it outright. He's saying that to Dr. Bang.
Oh.
Well, we'll see how Dr. Bang deals with a bang. I'm going to teleport in and hit him with an open palm.
All right. Yes, it's time.
This is delivering the Higgs field vortex.
Yeah, as well it should. Yeah. Go ahead and roll
Let's see if I
hit.
have enough endurance left. Yeah. Wait a minute. Let's see. That's 9 points. My God. And half of that is 6, 15, 29, 44. Well, I've got 8 endurance left.
Yeah, you're starting to suck some wind. So go ahead and roll to hit. His concealment field hasn't quite formed yet, which means you actually can see him clearly to go after him.
Oh, is that what the bubbles are? Okay.
Well, once it gets real bubbly in here, it will be.
Okay, so my OCB is 8, and I roll 15.
Ooh. That's not gonna. You actually had a pretty good shot at hitting him too. It's I mean, you were very much in the 13 or less situation.
Okay.
So, yeah.
And I spend the endurance. I spend the endurance whether I hit or not, right?
Yep.
So what we've got is I come out and he maybe the concealment field is formed enough that I get the wrong place.
Yeah,
and,
absolutely.
I set out my palm, and then we get this big swirly distortion of reality that's immediately in front of my palm. It may be mixing up some of the bubbles.
I totally get that. Right. And his look is very much a, deep gratefulness. He's like looking at this, like his head's over here, and it's like deep gratefulness that his bubbles, saved him.
Worked.
Yes, that they worked.
Yeah.
So, good. That's, and the last to go is going to be advance. Now,
okay, so I actually think that I have run out of endurance.
Aha. So you can either burn, knockout.
18.
Right.
It was 18 per grab.
Right. 18 per
13.
grab? That's not right. That
Did
can't
you
be
say
right.
it's your endurance is your strength?
No, it's based on your strength. So
okay.
it's only 1 per 5 points of strength.
Oh, okay. Then I have plenty of endurance.
Right.
Okay.
So,
okay.
I figured. Yes. So you want to? You can, with a similar roll, you will get out of your entangle if you do that now.
Yeah, we'll go ahead and do that.
Yeah. So same thing as before, and roll your 4 dice.
Okay,
5 dice. Sorry,
but,
5.
But that's
5.
still costing 13 endurance.
Yeah.
Okay, I see.
That's okay, but at the end of this phase, you'll get your recovery. Yeah.
That's the...
the push is what's really killing you.
I see.
Right.
Oh, because it's 3 and the push is 10. Okay,
right.
I'm with you.
Right.
I'm getting it.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's 4, 5.
Excellent. Oh, all right. That did it. You were able to nail the you're basically able to stand up now and actually be there. So if you want to, well, technically that's it for you at the end of this phase, right? So I was going to say, if you shatter and entangle by just ripping through like all the body at once, like in one go, then you still are allowed a half phase action.
Oh, that's great.
Because you figure you just hulked it. But when you have to really break it down, then when you're done, you're done for that phase.
Can I make like a 0 phase
Totally.
kind of intelligence thing?
Absolutely.
If he is successful in destroying this machine, is there explosions or anything that could possibly arise from this?
Good question, and make the roll.
Yeah. I made the roll.
Okay.
That's a 5.
The answer to this, and I'm really, really, really glad you actually went for that question, is that no, it's not that kind of a device. But the physics that man was not meant to know, on the other hand, will be profoundly affected. The way that the machine had been set up for some particular project. Remember I said they had just finished like a big thing? Your wife had finished just a big thing? The way the machine had been set up for that will kick off other devices doing the wrong things without that machine's impact or effect on them. And then the whole multiverse goes higgledy-piggledy.
Okay. All right, so there's going to be actions to try to stop that. Shut down!
Again?
It's good that I shifted down, because now I can actually use the equipment.
I
can't do that at 12 foot tall.
That intelligence roll will also buy you the knowledge that there is some force at work which is bringing them here rather than in other words, there is some kind of a orthogonal impact on this, paraphysically speaking. Your machine didn't do this.
Okay, got it.
Right. So, let's see. That's the end. Recoveries! Hooray! Yes. What we do is take a look at our next phase of activity, which is going to be all the way forward into 3. Power Star will go.
Oh, well, how nice.
Yes.
Well, my only question here is, I'm guessing. Well, so this might be a tactical thing, but I'm guessing that Dr. Bang is going to go on 3. I'm wondering, what is my DCV if I take a recovery this phase?
Your DCV will be basic, which would be your dexterity over 3. So for you, it would be just a basic 8, and that's that. Right.
I think I'm going to take a recovery.
Good idea.
I'm going to step back into basic stance.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
And so then we have advance gets to go. And so what will you do?
Okay, so advance is going to run to one of his panels.
Yeah. Yes.
And start seeing how he could maybe mitigate some of this craziness.
Now we're talking. Yes, indeed. Okay, so that's actually kind of cool. You're like, Vince is doing the work here, not Advance.
Right.
So that makes a lot of... I like that, right? So you hurl yourself there. This is only for fun. Make a dexterity roll just for me. Because I love making rolls.
No, that's 12.
Right, 12 or less. So did you roll?
Yes.
Oh, okay, sorry.
So I got a 12.
Perfect, that's fine. You made your dexterity roll, which means that you don't step on Gavin. That's all.
Okay.
Yeah, I felt like making Gavin's life a little tricky. And so, but he's actually keeping his cool. He's looking up and says, is this some... He actually looks up as you're like, not step on him. Looks up at you and says, is this some kind of time shit?
Yeah, what are you still doing here? Get the safety!
So, yeah, his thought balloon for Gavin, safety, he says. And that would be where?
You're not even wearing your goggles! I told you to wear your goggles in the lab!
That's right. Excellent. Okay, so what we have is your roll now. This is serious intelligence roll action.
Okay. So this is another 3 dice.
3d6, hoping for low. Think low.
That is low. That is a 6.
Yes. If you widget the Framajam, you block the vortex, the whirly.
Oh.
Right. Excellent. Okay, so right. So excellent. That's going to be your. We're going to roll for that in a moment. Okay. So cool. That was 3. Dr. Bang is next, and Dr. Bang does a cool thing with his bubbles, because what his bubbles do is a whole bunch of them form inside what's left of the tube, especially that business ends down way far at the other end, which is where all the readings are taken and stuff. So you guys actually can see, like, he's like holding out his hand, right, and all the, it's palm down, and all these bubbles just like fill up the tube, and they start like really getting big at the other end. And you're kind of remembering Dr. Bang. Yeah, these bubbles would form and like in cracks of things, and then they'd balloon up, and then bam, the whole thing would blow apart. Right. So yeah, he's doing that. Oh, and now his own like field of bubbles is like, he's like, there's a sea of bubbles that he's standing in.
Are the bubbles the blue metallic as well?
No, they're black and semi-translucent.
Okay.
I made up Dr. Bang quite recently, and I have, after like a mere segment of playing him, I am in love. So, we have the next. That was his go. That was his go on 5. No. I know where we are. And the next one is going to be, the next one is Power Star. Coming up. Yeah.
Straight up martial strike to the chin.
All right, it's time. Right, let's do it. Punch. Now, he is concealed. Make your perception roll.
Okay.
You gotta like make your way. You're like, oh god, these bubbles, man.
Ooh, a 10 out of.
No, that's 13. Fine. That's great. No problem at all. You make your perception roll. It's only 1 degree of concealment. It's enough to be annoying, but it's not, impossible. So,
okay.
And so you kind of wade through, and it's not very far, which is good. And you're able to do your punch. So go ahead and roll.
My dice is a 7. Very nice.
Very good. Roll your damage.
And that's going to be... I have an 18 strength. Do I get 4 dice or 3 dice?
Look at the... You get 18 strength gives you 4 dice, and then you get the martial bonus, which I confess I've forgotten. It's not the same as it used to be. 3 dice. 3 dice. Excellent. Yeah. I just gave flat increases. So, yeah.
I'm also using one of my powers that adds dice of flash and a dice of blast with high impact.
Ooh, okay. Regular damage first.
Regular damage first. Oh, this is more dice than I expected. Okay, so I got 6 body.
6 body. Excellent. And how many stun actually is what matters here.
Yeah, I'm working on it. 24.
Okay. So, cool. That's going to hurt. And now roll the other 2. Roll the die. For the flash, just roll for the body.
1. So I rolled a 4, it's a 1.
Right. And so finally the high impact.
A 6. So that's 2 body.
Excellent. So, oh, wow. Okay. So that's going to be flat out 2 right there. And I have a really, really, really good method for knockback. Which, as I recall... There it is. Just roll 1d6.
Okay.
What do you get?
3.
3. Okay, you're going to do 3 inches of knockback, and then you're going to add 2 for the high impact, so that's 5 inches. Okay.
Yikes.
And so I'll explain the rule later. Let's get back to our...
Right. That pops some bubbles.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. You fling them. You definitely you have a very satisfying martial strike, and he does like a pinwheel in the air and like crashes down. Of course the cushioning of the bubbles as he hits does happen. And so actually it is quite. He has a quite pillowy impact. So he does not take damage from the wall and equipment that he's knocked into.
Oh, nice.
Yes. And so, but he did take the damage from the hit itself. And so that was... Then Advance is next.
Okay, well, I think I've identified the whirligig and the Whoozum hat. So let's push some buttons.
Excellent. And so
that's another intelligence roll.
Yeah, I'm debating on whether this one's going to be dexterity because you have arthritis and you're moving really, really, really fast. Make an ego roll. That's what this is going to be. This is whether you can power through the pain in your fingers.
I love it. I love it. That
ego
is
roll
so
for this.
creative.
Not an intelligence roll, not a dexterity roll. You were smart enough to do that already.
Yes.
We know that.
I'm not used to having to do this so quickly. Okay, so my ego is 18.
So that's going to be a 13 or less roll. Which isn't too terrible, but if you miss it, you do. So
I made it. That's an 8.
This was a panel of pain. This was a panel of you had the smarts to do it. You are dexterous enough actually to do it. It wasn't a hard task. You already figured out how. You had to make yourself do it. It hurt.
Gotcha. Right.
So
this is the physical limitation.
Yes, it is. That's his physics. Yeah. Okay. And so what you have is... and I forgot to foreshadow it. I was thinking about at the time that while you guys were talking, Denise would have been absent-mindedly just like rubbing your knuckles.
Okay, nice.
You know, just as the what you guys do. It's don't even think about it, right? As a couple, she just will do that every so often. So, but okay. The deal here though is there is another one of those weird cracks, and you see, you guys see into places that are not places, and seated in a profusion of like an infinite regress of seated in what appears to be some kind of a high-tech throne, is the guardian of the continuum, and all these different images of Advance from the 80s are like scattered in weird panels at different sizes around him, and then it all flickers out and you guys are like there with nobody. Dr. Bang's not there. Nobody's there. Just the three of you in this room, and everything is so freaking normal, physically speaking, that only now do you realize how warped reality was during the fight itself.
Okay.
Right.
But everything's still damaged. The floor is all torn up. Okay, got it.
Mm-hmm.
Wasn't the end of the particle accelerator cut off at some point?
The tube had been cut through at some point along its length.
Uh-huh.
But the importantest part, Dr. Bang never got the explosion off.
Ah.
He has to entangle something with his bubbles first, and then he can blow it up.
Aha.
Interesting power.
Well, yes, especially if you're the thing being entangled and blown up.
Yes.
He's a fun-loving guy. He typically doesn't do that to people, but, sometimes.
Okay, so I think Power Star Mike will backpedal and take a breath.
Right.
And then turn to Dr. Vasilievich and say, who were those people?
That was a real blast from the past.
Mm-hmm.
And he helps Gavin up to his feet.
Gavin's like saying, we've got some research. You have got some research to do. And he looks up at you and says, Power Star. It's like, it's an honor. Gavin's just perhaps to Vance's minor annoyance, because Vince is a mature person and doesn't really have problems of this sort. But it is sort of annoying maybe when Gavin turns to Power Star and is really impressed at the superhero.
Right. He doesn't realize I'm not the original.
Yeah, that's all right. There's your thought balloon. Yeah, absolutely. Alan, you think being very ambiguous about taking the praise. Oh, I see.
Trying not to.
Right.
Trying not to give in that I'm not the guy.
Excellent. Well, cool. You guys are welcome to converse at this point, so feel free.
I mean, Vince is supervillains show up and then another hero shows up. I mean, this is just how it works. He's so used to this kind of superheroing sort of thing. It's coming back to him. So he leaves Gavin.
Having completely obviated your entire monologue to your wife from earlier in the session, I might add, with that very statement.
Right. Okay. Got it. And so he's leaving Gavin to talk with him, and now he's going over and looking at the damage.
Okay. Yeah. Gavin
so
will
I'm
say,
cornered by this guy who's a fan.
He kind of unfanboys. He realized this is dire, right? This is a dire situation. He unfanboys, and Gavin kind of collects himself and says, "Well, sir, we are engaged in innovative energy research." And with your expertise as well, perhaps these events could be, thinks for a second for the right word, and he says, understood to the benefit of everyone.
I'm on board.
He almost said capitalized.
The benefit. But
he decided to phrase it just a little bit differently. Right.
Well, that was a very timely arrival, Power Star. Thanks for saving us and the lab. As he's checking everything out.
Mm-hmm.
What is a big concern here is I was visiting Dr. Darius Darkstar at the time, and he emitted. He had a seizure where he emitted some kind of dimensional vortex, and then indicated, and then I had this flash. Did you have that flash just a minute ago, where we kind of saw an alternate dimension or something?
Yep, it looks like some of the barriers of the time space-time continuum are being somehow affected by, gobbledygook, gobbledygook, gobbledygook.
Perception roll.
Is that something?
Perception roll for Frank. Right. Perception roll for no, not for Power Star, but for Advance. An important perception roll.
Okay, and perception is
similar to the intelligence. Yes, they are different scores in the long run, but they start.
That is a 12.
Excellent. He has no idea. Power Star has zero idea of what you are talking about.
Okay. And I would assume that
you would assume that Power Star would...
That he would know. Okay. Mm-hmm. And I go, what... then I kind of look at Power Star and said, what do you think? Do you think this was because of the Higgs boson dual dynamic, or do you think this would be more on the some other thing? What do you think, Power Star?
Yeah, the expression on Vince's face is just hysterical. You're asking it kind of straight faced, but with this kind of like, all right, buddy, kind of look. Yeah.
So, I will glance at Gavin to ensure that he's out of earshot of Elizabeth.
Right.
And lean on and say, "I'm not him."
Okay. I guess we're going to need to take this perhaps to a more secure location. Let me go ahead and completely power down this machine and set it down, and we will continue this discussion.
Excellent. All right, guys. It took a little longer than I planned tonight, but we were kind of feeling our way. I thought we'll call it for now. Is that all right?
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Good.
Ron, you are really good at this. Thank you so much.
I appreciate it. It's a nice compliment. I have found that Champions for me just sings through the quick slip and slide of how everyone would react. That's just
that's good.
Yeah, it's all I got really. And I confess, at first I was like, oh man, what am I gonna do with this whole like villains from the past in your Hunted? I was like, isn't that just like totally boilerplate? They want revenge because they want revenge. I even have a note there. I'm like, oh fuck, revenge? I hate villains who show up to wreak revenge on the hero. I mean, there's no story there. It's totally lame. So then I thought, oh wait, heroes like from the past. Now
that's a great twist. Instead of the geriatric crew from the 80s,
I had that.
Everybody dusting everything off. This was much more clever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so and you can see them in their heyday and stuff like that, and they don't know why they're there. Oh, just as a little coda, back in 1984, Marga in West Berlin in a moody nightclub, in one of the areas where the VIPs are, kind of blinks and says, "What? Was? And she says in English accent things, what the hell was that?" And Madonna across from her, looks over the top of her long-stemmed drink and just chuckles throatily for no good reason, just because she's Madonna. And I guess, Mark, back in his fledgling professor first year hire office at at the university back in 1985, Mark blinks a little bit from behind
you mean
his
Vince?
No, Mark.
Who's Mark?
Dr. Bang. Young professor.
Okay,
right?
Yes.
Blinks and looks, and the student who's across there, asking why he got a C. He's rattled for a second. He looks at it and says, "Because that was wrong." And then says, "Oh, sorry," and then goes back to explaining nicely to the student how they could have done better. So.
Okay, creepy.
Yeah,
that's great.
Yeah,
that's great.
They have no. There was no time. There was no time lapse whatsoever. They're not damaged. Nothing. They were just borrowed for a moment. So.
Yeah, nice epilogue.
Yeah. So, any thoughts on your guys' deal? I mean, I figure from now on we've got the energy shit to work with. We've got, a look at your hunted. A glance a little bit. We did not get a chance for Alan's personal life, which I completely apologize for. We'll have to. That's my thinking. We get to know. We will get to know Michael's life, substantially better next time. So,
yeah, I liked how it came up that Michael is ignorant of the technology stuff.
It was,
at best he's
right.
found some basic operating manuals.
Right. And I like that, and I love the fact that your intervention. You see, each time each one was going to hit either if they got taken out or if you hit segment 9, then the next one would step in. And yes, I had more.
Oh, that's great.
Right.
Yeah.
So therefore, the fact is they would have worn Advance down eventually. Recovery. He's pretty hard to hurt, but recovery after recovery, they would have worn him down. So
he's a lot weaker just at times 1 growth though.
Right. That's true. And so
he would have got taken down pretty quickly.
You were pretty scary, and the even Gemfire. You were right. She wasn't gonna. 1 roll is all you needed. But yeah, it worked out fine. Cool. I will look forward to seeing you guys again next week. I trust.
Wonderful.
And
yes.
And I like the characters. It's it's different. Big shift from the last game. So good night, guys.
All right. Good night.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Again.